first step to creating our turkey game is going to be delete the cat. We're going to go to choose a sprite and click on the magnifying glass. When we scroll down, we're going to grab button 3, just because it's a perfect rectangle. We're going to change the size to something close to 250, but that still doesn't make our flag big enough. So when we go to costumes, we can use the select tool, select the whole rectangle, fill it to the color of the flag that we're doing, make sure it's a flat color, no ombre, and increase the size. So if we drag the whole rectangle, click on the corner, and make it bigger. So this is about good enough, big enough. What I'm going to add now is the circle and make the fill command white because the Turkish flag has a moon on it. So in the corner here, we're just going to stretch out a circle, and then when you click on this reshape tool, you can actually stretch certain parts down. And you can make this look like Pac-Man, or you can make it look like the crescent moon on the Turkish flag. So if you play around with it, and eventually you'll get a nice shape. I'm going to stick with what I have right now. The final thing is on the flag, when we click on the paint command, we're going to change thickness to 7 and draw a star. After that, when we go into code, this is when the real game situation starts. We're going to click on events and grab when green flag clicked. Now, the code that I'm using here is going to be repeated throughout most of the sprites, so you might want to pay attention. So when green flag is clicked, we want it to show, and some of the sprites we won't want them to show later when the green flag is clicked, so that's the only difference. And when the green flag is clicked, we want it to show, but the most important part is when this sprite clicked, because that's how the user will be interacting with what's on the screen. So when the sprite is clicked, it needs to do something. In our project, we're trying to convert between English and Turkish, so that's the extension we're going to grab from this blue extension button in the corner. When we click on this button, we have all the tools that Scratch has to offer. Some of them have external robots that you can use, as Makey Makey and Microbit. There's also pen and music, so if you want more distinct sounds, you can check out music. And there's video sensing, which is also fun. So we're going to grab translate, and we're also going to grab text to speech. So there are two. In translate, you have the command to translate whatever your message is to whatever language you want. I'm just going to quickly change that to Turkish. And there's also a language variable. In text to speech, you have speak, so say the message, and also what accent the language is. So we're also going to change this to Turkish. So when the sprite is clicked, I want it to speak, I want to say hello. And I also want the accent to be Turkish, but I don't want it to just say hello in a Turkish accent. I want it to say hello translated in Turkish. So say hello in Turkish. So if I click on the green flag, click on the flag,
Merhaba.
Perfect. There's another thing I wanted to add, which is in looks, I wanted to say what message we just translated, so that the person can know what the spelling is, what we're talking about. So if you do Control-C, Control-V, you'll be able to have two. Otherwise, if you right-click, you'll also be able to duplicate.
Merhaba.
Excellent. The next part that we want to work on is this arrow tool. So let me just show you that for a second. The arrow tool switches to the next backdrop with the next set of objects to work with. So it's pretty important. We're going to go into the magnifying glass, we're going to grab the arrow. Now in the arrow there's 3 pieces of code. When the sprite clicked, I wanted to do something called broadcast a message. Remember, broadcast a message is like sending a radio signal. Radio signals are received and they are sent. I'm calling mine selected. You can keep yours in message 1 if you want. Broadcast selected, and I also wanted to switch to the next backdrop. So in looks, we're going to grab next backdrop. And that's all the code you need for the arrow. When the person clicks on the arrow, they should be able to go.
Merhaba.
Oh, make sure your arrow's in a very desirable
Merhaba.
position.
Merhaba.
This person clicks the arrow. Nothing happens. Why? Because that message that we broadcasted isn't going to work unless someone receives the broadcast. So we go to events and we grab when I receive selected under our button 3. So button 3 is our flag. We can rename the sprite to flag or Turkish or whatever you want to do. And when I receive selected within the flag, so the flag receives when I receive the broadcast and message, I want this sprite to hide. Perfect. Now the backdrop is supposed to switch, but we don't have another backdrop. So we click on stage, which is down here. We click on backdrops. We click on choose a backdrop. And this is this part where they're in the bedroom. In the bedroom, we want 2 items. Well, we want multiple items, but I'm going to show you 2 items so that you can understand the scenario and add your own items as well. So this is my suitcase over here. You can decorate it however you like. And I want to take on this trip with me. Maybe I want to take a drum set. Maybe I want to take water. I'm going to get some keys. So my key is going to be on my table. And I'm going to say, this is the part that gets really fun because we can copy paste some of the code. So we go to the flag. And this whole 4 set of code, we're going to copy paste and hover it above the key. And we're going to grab this one, the broadcasted message code, and we're going to hover it above the key, which means it has duplicated the code. Now, when the sprite is clicked, I don't want the key to say hello. I want the key to say key so that the person can learn these words in Turkish. There's a little bit of a problem going on because the backdrops aren't showing up how I want them to show up. So we're going to click on stage and we're going to click on the code section and we're going to say when the green flag is clicked, go to looks and switch the backdrop to backdrop 1. That way, whenever the code starts, the flag is where the white backdrop is and the suitcase is where the other backdrop is. Now the key isn't showing up because we haven't told it to show up. So we go to events, and when the backdrop switches to bedroom 1, we want it to show.
Anahtar.
Which is a key. You can visually see that. But I wanted to move towards my suitcase. So I'm going to grab motion, click on glide 1 second to random position, and then change that to the button.
Anahtar.
The one thing that the key is doing wrong is that it's showing up when the flag is showing up. So we're going to go to events. When green flag is clicked, we want it to hide. Now, we don't have any code for the suitcase. The only thing we want is that when the green flag is clicked, we want it to hide. And then when this backdrop switches to the backdrop of the bedroom, which is a when statement, that's the only part where we want it to show.
Merhaba. Anahtar. Anahtar.
I'm going to move my key and I'm going to go into motion and set that coordinate to 0, 0 because I want to make sure that the person sees the key actually move and that doesn't just come up before the suitcase. Now the final stage in this code is when they go to the hall or the airport. So we're going to click on choose a sprite, grab the hall, and in the hall we want to choose people to meet. So I'm going to meet Abby, and Abby is not proportionate, so I'm going to make her like 75. And now Abby is going to be talking to us. So we're going to copy the flag code, but there's some interesting parts to Abby that we're adding. Abby is going to translate and she's going to ask us, what is your name? But we actually want the person who's watching to reply. So instead of saying, what is your name, we're going to go to sensing and grab ask, what is your name? Then the person will reply. And what they reply is going to be stored in a variable called answer. We're going to go to operators, grab join, and say hello, whatever the person's name is, then translate that into Turkish, and then say it out loud.
Adın ne?
I'll say Bob.
Merhaba Bob.
Hello, Bob. And I want her to say it and for us to see it. So hello, we're going to grab this join command, copy paste it, and then we're going to put it in our say command from looks. The only thing is she's showing up in random spots. So in order to get rid of that showing up in random spots, we're going to grab, when the green flag is clicked, hide, and then show only when the backdrop switches to the hall.
Anahtar. Adın ne? Merhaba Bob.
And that is the end of our code. You guys can do a lot of updating to this, make it really interesting, add some budget, some money, some point system, a lot more sprites in the bedroom, and really make this a very fun and cool quest. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and then I can see your project next week. Thank you.